This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're like me, someone who gets stuck in their head a lot, BetterHelp might be the answer. And right now, if you visit betterhelp.com/sold separately or use the link in this video's description, you can get 10% off your first month. So give it a try. Remember, you can't take care of anyone else in your life until you take care of yourself.
And now, on with the show.
I'm Ken Davidoff, and my happiness is being in a quiet, relaxed place with my family.
And I'm Harley Rotbart, and my happiness and joy is hearing some of the things that I taught my kids come out of their mouths when they are talking to their kids. So watching my grandkids listen to my kids who occasionally remember what I taught them.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody, and welcome to Dr. Harley Rotbart and Ken Davidoff for joining us on the show. It's an honor to have you both here. Ken Davidoff, of course, is a veteran Major League Baseball columnist. You've covered the game for over 30 years. Dr. Harley is a national recognized pediatrician, parenting expert, and author. 101 Lessons from the Dugout. It's a great title and a great combo to write this book. How did the idea come about, and how did you guys get together?
Why don't you start, Harley?
Well, the idea started 19 years ago when I was coaching high school baseball and realized that so much of what goes on the baseball field, applies to everyday life. And I began teaching my players that what they are going through off the field, and many of them were going through tough times off the field, family crises, school problems, could be understood better with metaphors from baseball. And so I began taking notes, and the notes ended up sort of in a pre-version, a pre-manuscript for what this book is. And it sat there for a while. And then I talked to my literary agent, who said, in order to get this book published, you need some baseball credibility. And being a high school baseball coach is not what she was talking about. So she told me about a friend of hers, Ken Davidoff, who is an insider in baseball, knows the game inside and out, and would be a great contact. And her initial idea was that Ken could refer me to some big name baseball player who we could tack onto the title of the book, onto the cover of the book, and sell more books, because that's what literary agents want to do. And I spoke with Ken and realized I don't need a baseball player. I need a baseball writer, and there is none better. So it was a marriage made in heaven.
Amazing. Well, why do you guys, Ken, why is baseball, what does it still teach us about modern culture, and what is modern culture forgetting? Is it patience, failure, earning your way through? What are we learning from baseball today?
Gosh, what is it, modern culture forgetting, Jason? But
that's right.
We could go on for a while about that. But yeah, I think baseball is particularly able to I think this works best for baseball. I'm a little biased. I covered baseball pretty exclusively, as you said, for about 3 decades now. But I think the pace of baseball, for all the criticism it gets for that pace, makes it more accessible to the common fan. And I also think that pace allows time for contemplation, as you're watching it, even a tiny, tiny bit as you're playing it. So I that's what I think baseball is equipped to do. And look, I think baseball, and to be fair, most sports, teaches us so much on a daily basis. I mean, I just flash back, Jason, I don't know, I'm a big a fan you are, but the baseball had this big tournament, the World Baseball Classic, very successful tournament, Olympic style tournament of different countries playing against one another. And in the final, Team USA lost by 1 run to Team Venezuela. And after the game, one of Team USA's biggest superstars, Bryce Harper, made a point of going over to the Team Venezuela dugout and congratulating the players. So, in a time, and again, we don't want to get too deep in the world, I don't think, but I think we're seeing a lot of sore losing out there. And here's Bryce Harper, and it was a heartbreaking loss. Bryce Harper actually had a game-tying two-run home run late in the game, and they still lost. Here's Bryce Harper being such a dignified person in losing position to go over there and congratulate the winners. So I think those are the kind of lessons we can draw from sports and from baseball and softball in particular every day.
I mean, you spent 30 years in the game, and you've seen a lot of probably breakdowns and emotion that fly all over the locker room and on and off the field. What has it taught you about, human nature, egos, pressure, who people become under the spotlight and a fan base? Have you seen, I'm sure you've seen guys off the field, maybe their personality is completely different. I don't know, but what has that taught you about just the human nature?
Well, I think, Jason, what I've learned from my years around the game and around high-profile people is the baseball population is no different than any other population. There's a range of personalities. There are good people and less good people out there, and people, the range of reactions to both adversity and triumph is vast. I've seen people whose respect I gained respect for them when the way they handle themselves in losing situations. People I lost respect for the way they handled winning situations. So I think more than anything, what I've learned is that they're human. I think there's this rather naive expectation that these people are all heroes or villains, and like the rest of life, there's a lot of gray area.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, I guess, you break it down. It's a game that these guys work hard for, but at the end of the day, they're just trying to survive too. They're just trying to make it through life.
For sure.
And the Ken's scenario about Bryce Harper, and we actually we're seeing since the book became a book, we're seeing so many examples in the professional baseball of things that we've written about. So chapter 91, to quote chapter and verse of the book, is about handshakes. And it's the difference between burning bridges and building bridges. And Bryce Harper built bridges. He didn't burn bridges. And people who overreact and don't act in a sportsmanlike way burn bridges. And what the chapter says is, next year, the people that you disregard and don't treat nicely may be on your team. And so you always have to be conscious, whether you're in school, whether you're on the baseball field or softball field, you have to be conscious of building bridges and not burning bridges. And Bryce Harper was a great example of that.
Wow. The great thing about the book is, I guess the chapters are very digestible, right? So you can read it with your kids. It's, 2 or 3 pages. It's basically broken up into points, right? Just basically pointers in life that you can get through really quickly.
1 to 2 pages, Jason.
1 to 2.
Not
okay.
2 to 3.
No, that's 2. Let's not go crazy.
Very digestible.
Dr. Harley, I think we all think about the sports today with kids, and of course it's really good for kids out there, done right and the right way. Do you think though, we've gotten into this, I guess, I don't know what you call it, just this theme of constant praise and nobody loses, everybody gets a trophy. Are we raising kids? Is there a danger that we're raising kids now who can't handle strikeouts, who can't handle failure, to get up, keep moving?
That is, Jason, that's the generational dilemma of how we, Ken and I and you, were raised. I'm older than both of you, but we're sort of in the same generation. Of how we were raised compared to how our kids were raised. And participation trophies and, eliminating the merit-based performance achievements. Those are all, I think, risks of our kids growing up entitled. And there is an entitlement. I think this generation of kids, and our parents probably thought that about us, But I think this generation of kids is more entitled as a result of not having to cope with disappointment, not having to cope with losing. And yeah, I think it is a risk. I think it will cycle back. These things tend to be pendulums, and I think we will get back to the point where we are stricter about reinforcing the positive and accepting and understanding the negative. But right now, we're not at that stage. I think right now we are still giving participation trophies, and everybody gets a ribbon.
Yeah, I really worry about kids today. I mean, I've seen it where kids go out and they graduate, they get jobs, and it's not like they thought it was going to be when they get out there and they stumble and fail, or their boss is mad at them, or whatever the case may be. And then they go to social media and complain that, oh, I had to work 2 hours over today. And it's just this, I guess, culture that we're creating where they're entitled, I guess, to have the life just kind of roll out on a red carpet, and there are no trips and falls. But that builds character, as you both know. That's what we all came up in. That's how, I fail every day. So it's just, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I think I've learned my biggest lessons from failing. So it is a training ground. And I think baseball is one of those games, Ken, where I think each time up at bat, you're facing either success or failure. And it's one of those games where, I guess failure, if you could say, is not normalized, but it's a part of the game with every player. Is that what you feel too about the game? It's like sort of a unique game in itself to teach success and failure.
Yeah, for sure, Jason. And the old, the old baseball proverb is, if you get a hit 3 times out of every 10 times you go to bat, you're going to the Hall of Fame. Right, and I like to modernize that with on-base percentage. If you get on for 4 out of 10 times, you go to the Hall of Fame. But look, I've covered literally thousands of players, and I think the best at that was Derek Jeter of the Yankees. I mean, he never, no matter how bad an at bat went, or if he made a rare mistake in the field or running the bases, he was amazing at just moving past it. I mean, one of his famous incidents was when he was a rookie in 1996. He made a terrible base running error. It really cost the Yankees. And then what he did in the game, he immediately went over and sat next to his manager, Joe Torre, and smiled. It was his way. It was his way of like, all right, let me have it. But, but also like, I'm here, I'm smiling, I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you're going to go up again, or you're going to have another game. It's baseball's a long season, so you're going to have many chances out there. It's just, I think, when you think about it, and I never really did think about it until I started to look into the book and what you guys have put together. There are a lot of life lessons mirrored in the game. Even like going lead off from first base. I mean, that's kind of like risk and reward. I mean, it's decision making, it's risk taking. It's just baseball seems to be kind of wrapped up in life. If you want to go that far, it can teach kids a lot. Dr. Harley, if you going back to that, talking about the game and decisions and that kind of thing. And I guess a question for both of you: have you seen sort of this, not death in coaching, but where maybe major league guys, are they still listening to coaches? Or do they think they've got it all figured out? And then how does that translate down into kids on the field where they do have that entitlement and maybe, oh, the adult out here, I know what I'm doing. This adult's not going to tell me how important are coaches in our life? Because I think we all have coaches through our careers who have taught us things. And if we're smart enough to listen to them, it adds to our success.
Yeah, Jason, your point is exactly right. At the little league level, at the high school level, when kids are playing ball, I think it's the parents who are the greatest impediments to cooperation with coaching. I haven't seen kids act out the way we see it, and one of the chapters in the book is on role modeling, and we would worry. I mean, kids are spitting. They're spitting sunflower seeds because they watch their idols on the baseball diamond spit tobacco sauce or bubblegum juice or something. But spitting is part of baseball that is bad role modeling. So is arguing with umpires. So is arguing with their coaches. So is slamming their helmet. I haven't seen, other than spitting, I haven't seen at the young adult level the kind of rebellion that you might expect having watched major league players. But the parents, on the other hand, the parents' respect for coaches is not what it should be. Parents believe that they are the wisdom in the bleachers, and they're the ones who know when Johnny should play and what position Johnny should play. They're the ones who are the impediments, I think, to relationships at the young adult baseball level, rather than the kids themselves. Thankfully, so far, the kids are still listening to coaches. They're spitting sunflower seeds, but they're listening to coaches.
In my day, we had the big league chew. That was the big thing.
Right,
You have the pack that looked like tobacco.
Right.
Ken, are you seeing that? Like, have you seen it in the major league where they don't listen to coaches?
Jason, it's actually pretty interesting at the major league level, and I'm looking at 2 chapters from our book here. Chapter 85, the coach is coaching when you need better advice, and chapter 86, the coach's signs, follow instructions when not to follow instructions. And what is happening at the big league level, and I think there's a through line from what Harley's talking about. Now there are all these independent gurus, like hitting and pitching gurus, who maybe didn't play in the major leagues or even play professionally, but have studied all the mechanics and using all these different analytical tools, that they are able to help these major league players, and the major league players are often listening. So what you've had is this interesting dynamic, and I flash back to Aaron Judge at the start of his Yankees career. Like, he was working with a private hitting coach who really was the driving force in helping him accomplish himself as a superstar. And now and what has happened is, so there needs to be cooperation and collaboration between, in this instance, the New York Yankees hitting coaches and Aaron Judge's private hitting coaches, and that's happening all over baseball. So it's not an open rebellion. I know better than you. I'm not listening to anyone. But there is this idea, again, from our book, like, maybe this coach isn't helping me optimally, so let me seek out other resources. And then it's on the team to say, okay, Aaron Judge, you are a superstar. You're working hard. We need to meet you in the middle here. This is not my way or the highway. This is, okay, let's talk with you and your private coach and our team coach, and we'll figure this out together.
Wow, it's got to be hard to, when you're dealing with adults and as a coach and trying to rein that in, because as a coach, I would assume that you want to be really the only influence that they're getting on the field or in the locker room. And I feel like that probably muddies the water a little bit, right? To have outside consultants coming in.
Absolutely, but it's the way it is. And then going back to Harley's story about Little League, these parents might very well be paying big bucks for an outside counsel, if you will, and why should I listen to the dad or the mom who's working a full-time job and is doing as a side hustle, when this person is making his or her living doing this. So that's why, there just needs to be mutual respect and cooperation and collaboration.
And Jason,
it sounds like too. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The life lesson for all of this, besides the baseball lesson, the life lesson is that in life, there are coaches who you should be listening to, who offer constructive advice. But there are also coaches that you have to know are not being helpful and potentially in some positions of authority are being harmful. And kids have to learn what's right, what their compass is for for how far they will listen to a coach and to a person in a position of authority. And these days, when we see abusive behavior on the part of some coaches, Olympic coaches, for example, where there are sad stories of abuses, kids have to learn that there are times when you have to report that and have to say, that coach is not coaching me in the right way. And that's one of the lessons in the book, is when to benefit by the good coach, but also when to recognize that a coach is not who he or she should be, and you need to get better help.
So true. And I think, too, we need adults to be tell the kids the truth, right? Tell them if they're not maybe great at first base, tell them the truth. Like, let's maybe try third base. Let's try you here or try there. I think it does kids harm, right? To kind of telling them, okay, just we'll put you out there, keep going. But we need truth, I think, with kids in a way that they can understand and not to necessarily them to lose their gumption. But I think we still need to have that truth from adults because that's who they see as the authority and that's who they look up to.
That's right. Exactly right.
Ken, what do we not see as fans for these guys in the games as far as their identity, their self-doubt, failure? I'm sure they take a lot home with them, and you've seen it, I'm sure. But we go to the game, we watch the game on TV. It's there, it's over. We don't really see that emotion afterward. They're human like us. So can you walk us through a little bit on maybe for parents listening or even kids, like what do we, I think sometimes we see them as like, oh, they just wipe it off clean, they're good after the game, nothing bothers them, but that's not necessarily true, I'm sure.
That's not necessarily true, Jason. And yeah, I mean, so obviously, like we talked about earlier, any population has a great amount of diversity. Some are actually quite good at wiping it away, and some really struggle with it. And I just think, I used to try to process, I would kind of just keep an eye on players, especially after they made a big mistake. And I've told one story on our little book tour here about this player on the New York Mets named Luis Castillo, who made a huge error against the Yankees in a game in 2009, ended the game. Like if he caught the pop-up, the Mets would have won, but he dropped it and the Mets lost. Like it was that huge a play. And the next day, he showed up like ready to rock, and then I remember like the Mets media relations staff tried to protect him, no, enough media. He said, no, I'll talk to the media. It was a rough night. People reached out to me, blah, blah, blah. And then he went out and played a great game and helped the Mets beat the Yankees that day.
Wow.
But I have seen people, it's interesting. It was my job with the media, obviously, to be an advocate for the fan and a liaison. But there were times when I thought it was in the player's best interest to not speak to the media too much. Like if a player was going through a slump, like I would, for better or worse, sometimes lay off the player. Like he doesn't need me asking more questions. And then I would read stories by some of my competition where the player would kind of be wallowing in his own struggles and misery. And I would just think to myself, this is not a good sign. And often that player would continue to struggle.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily make a great story in journalism. That just is you're seeing them at their worst. Okay, maybe touch on it, but when you're chasing them down and bringing those questions up over and over, you failed, you dropped it. I mean, that does them, I'm sure, harm for.
And there are other ways to tackle that story. And you talk to the manager, the coach, the friend. There are other ways while giving the player a little bit of grace and peace. Exactly.
Speaking to that point, do you guys have a danger to think about a danger? Are we teaching kids too early to be products versus being in development? Are we going to performance way too far over just developing as a kid? It's like fathers in their eyes have got, oh my gosh, he's going to be a star. But that's in my day, that wasn't. We just got out there and we learned lessons and we played the game. But today, it just seems I see that. It kind of worries me.
We've gotten to the point, and this is always a bone of contention in youth sports, youth baseball, youth softball.
Yeah,
and that is that parents don't recognize that their child is highly unlikely, in fact, will not play Major League Baseball, will not play NCAA Division I softball. They will not. Now, of course, there are exceptions because every major league player and every NCAA Division I softball star started in Little League. Mm-hmm. But the vast majority, the pyramid is so steep that reality check is that we should be enjoying the kids performing at the level that they're performing and not anticipating the college that they're going to get into and be a star, the draft that they're going to go number one in. Because it's not going to happen. And the pressure the parents are putting on kids to make that happen by taking them on very expensive traveling teams. I think traveling teams are great. They're fun. We did them with our kids, but with the recognition that this may be the peak of their baseball career. This may be it. And that's okay, because if you're out there, and again, returning to our theme of happiness sold separately, if we're happy doing what we're doing and not doing it for the next step, if our motive is to enjoy the moment, to take advantage of the stage of development that we're in, rather than looking for an unattainable, very likely unattainable next step, then we're winning. And I think that's what parents who have Major League Baseball dreams need to recognize.
Yeah, and it's absolutely. Ken, have you seen that? Most players that you've known over the years, has there been a common trajectory, or have they been spotted by scouts, or have they been pushed by parents, or is it a mix?
It's a mix, Jason. It also speaks to the geographical diversity of baseball in particular, right, with Latin America and Asia. But look, I think what we're talking about here goes well beyond sports. I mean, I'm a parent, and Harley's a parent, and Jason, I don't know if you were.
I'm a parent. Yeah.
There you go. All right, it's 3 for 3. But my son was not a future major leaguer, but everything about getting him ready for college was so elevated. From my time doing that, in terms of hiring the outside coach to help with the college, the essays and everything, and the SAT teacher, and everything it's right. It's not just sports. It's everything about a young person's experience has really been elevated and intensified so much. And I really dislike it intensely.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. It's and like you said, Dr. Harley, I think it's maybe going to shift and come back around, because everything does eventually come back around. But there for a while, it was you saw all these fights on the field. It was just gross. You see parents coming out and they're fighting, getting in fist fights and all that stuff, and trying to fight for their kids and push their kids to be on the lineup. And that doesn't teach kids anything. That just shows you, if anything, they're going to continue the cycle, unfortunately, as they get older and have kids. Do you think overall baseball teaches many lessons? Is self-discipline one of those that is high on the list, and we're kind of prepping kids for adulthood?
One of my favorite chapters in the book is tagging up. The immediate impulse, pardon me, the immediate impulse to run with the crack of the bat gets a lot of kids thrown out because the ball's caught and they're doubled off because they haven't tagged up. Self-discipline is tagging up. Self-discipline is pausing, is taking a moment or a day or a week to reflect on what your immediate impulse is, what your anger would or your upset would tell you to do. Tag up, pause, and take a breath and consider what is long-term the best outcome. And it's very likely that outburst, that moment of emotion, is not going to change anything, but is going to get you potentially in trouble. And so I think self-discipline is manifest on the baseball field by tagging up, by taking a moment to realize that your first reaction is not always the right reaction.
It's so important. I think that's a huge one, because I feel like in life, in work, there's a team atmosphere. No matter, that's the thing too. When you get out into the real world, there's a team. In journalism, there are teams. As a doctor, I mean, you've got support staff. You've got people helping you. We're all kind of on a team to get one goal accomplished. So that's just another, I think, huge one on the top of the list there. One of the lessons. But if anything, what would you guys? And I'd like to hear maybe from both of you. What would you hope parents get from the book, and what do you hope to kind of put a spotlight on as we continue with youth sports and continuing on that? What do you hope kids and parents learn?
Well, I'm going to start just because how I wound up being Harley's partner was so wonderful for me personally, Jason, because as we've talked about, I covered Major League Baseball at a very high level for many, many years. And I had attained burnout. I was turning 50 and I was just like, I can't write another column about why the Yankees have lost 5 of 7 games. I just can't do it. And along comes Harley and our mutual agent, Lisa Leshny, with this idea. Oh my God, this idea has just allowed me to re-embrace my love of the game. And because here we are celebrating the game's fundamentals and joys and benefits. So that's what I would hope. My hope is that for kids and parents, they realize what a joy these games are, baseball and softball. And again, that winning isn't everything, that there are different, or maybe to phrase it better, there are different ways to win. Jason, you're a Tennessee man, and I believe the great baseball player Don Mattingly spent some of his minor league career, I believe, right in Knoxville, if my memory serves correct. I hope
didn't know that.
I'll confirm it while Harley's talking. But but Don Mattingly last year reached the World Series as a coach for the Toronto Blue Jays in his mid-60s. First time in his career in his mid-60s as a coach. Don Mattingly played for the New York Yankees, never even made a World Series, let alone won one. And he is absolutely revered at every level of baseball and sports. You know why? Because of the way he conducted himself, because of the way he treated other people, because of the way he paid it forward. So this is a man with 0 World Series rings and millions upon millions of admirers. So he is a winner.
So his character is what people remember about him most, not how he played the game. Yeah.
Precisely.
Dr. Harley, what do you think?
The ending of the book is an epilogue for parents and coaches. It is what we hope that parents and coaches can convey to their kids. But the most important word there is the word together. And that is that the best thing the parents can do for their kids is to be there with their kids, to be there together with their kids. And kids' accomplishments should be witnessed and should be praised, and kids' failures should be comforted. And that can only happen if the parents are there and by kids' side as they mature, as they develop, as they play ball, but as they go to school, as they develop in their personal lives. The key word is together. And so I think what Ken and I would convey most to parents is that the days are long, but the years are short, and it's time to. This is the time. If not now, when? This is the time.
Well said, and that's so true. That is so true. Wow, that's a great conversation. Thank you guys so much. 101 Lessons from the Dugout. I assume you can get it. Can you get it anywhere now? Is it out Amazon, in the stores?
Everywhere. Yeah, everywhere.
Great.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, is there already another one planned? Do you have some more lessons? Do you have a sequel?
We are running through the tape, Jason, just promoting this throughout the season. And let me add, Don Mattingly played in Nashville in 1981.
Nashville.
So
Well,
I had the state right.
Yeah, that's close enough. Well, we had. I remember I worked for the ABC affiliate, and we were covering the Knoxville KJs, and that's at the time that Michael Jordan came out when he tried to play in minor, so he was there. Yeah, I got to see him. Wow. Well, thank you guys. Please come back at some point. I love talking to both of you. It's been great kind of talking through this. I think it's very important for kids and parents and adults in general who are blessed to work with kids. I think it is a huge responsibility, and I think we're all just trying to put out good little humans in the world. So I think it starts with youth sports is such an important part of that as they grow up. So thank you both. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.
Jason.
Thanks for having us.
Happiness Sold Separately is created and hosted by Jason Hensley and is produced by Makash Films. Narration by Lauren Gobis. If you or someone you know is in crisis and needs immediate help, call the National Mental Health Hotline at 866-903-3787. We would be honored if you would rate, share, and subscribe.
That's a good one.